Hello and welcome to today's video. This time I'll be going over and cleaning up some of the books that I picked up in December and early January 2025. Now there's all manner of stuff here, lots of Penguin, some real vintage stuff and some new publications as well, and that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So sit back, relax and let's get to it. Okay then, so we'll start off with this one, which is one I actually got off eBay, and it's a services edition, The Pink Umbrella, and it's by Hammond and Company Limited, and they did, for sure, they published 2 services editions during the war. There is a rumour, in fact, it may be that they're listed actually in the book, that they were going to produce some more, but it's just this one and one other that have the only ones that have ever surfaced. So the jury is very much out there that they were even published to begin with. But it's got that familiar, this edition is produced for the Central Services Book Depot for the fighting forces of the Allied nations. And since I've got so many services editions recently, I am sort of on a bit of a services edition kick to try and get as many as I possibly can, because I'm loving collecting them and adding to the research, of which there's not a lot around, you know, there's not a lot of people who've studied the services editions. So, yeah, I think they're fascinating. Now, this is one off a viewer. So I bought a couple of books off him, and this was one of them. He's called James, and this is an Egyptian edition. So don't see these in the UK very often, Egyptian, and there's sometimes Palestinian copies as well. And these were, once again, wartime. They were produced for English-speaking forces that were based in and around Egypt, and that's exactly what this is. They almost always turn up incredibly brittle and some faded, simply because of the environment that they were stored in. It is as simple as that. These have been in, and for all I know, this could have still been out in Egypt for many decades after the war. So it's just about there. It is what it is. It's a fragile little example of a book which is very scarce, but doesn't actually need any work doing to it. This one was another donation. This was given to me by a customer at the recent Shepton Mallet Toy Fair. He's called James, and he has his own YouTube channel, Car Boot Cash or something like that it's called. I'll try and link to it in the description down below. And this was one he found out about on his travels, and his first thought was that I might want it. So that was really nice of him. So I shall obviously check this one, Humbug, against my run of Hutchinson Pocket Libraries. I can't remember if it's one I've got or not, but very, very pleased to see it. I mean, the price was right, wasn't it? It was freebie. Now, you're not seeing double. This is 2 copies of Ariel, which is, of course, Penguin #1. Now, these are both reprints. In fact, that says reprint and reprint on there. But you may or may not remember that I actually collect this particular book in all the different editions that Penguin published, of which there is 9. So there's 9 printings, and there's 4 variations of the first printing. So I thought, well, I'm going to have these because the price was right. And this one's actually in a dust wrapper. So very, very nice indeed. Now, which printing is this particular one then? This is the 3rd. So what I'll be doing is I shall be comparing my edition. That does look like it's got a page out, mind you. But I'll be comparing my copy of the 3rd book, the 3rd printing, with the one that I've got here. And I'll be keeping the best one, because I know some of my reprints are a little bit low grade. So when I come across them, I like to do it. I read this book last year, Ariel, and I thought, because it was originally published in 1924, so I thought a good time to read it would be in its centenary year, which is exactly what I did, and I found it really enjoyable, much more so than I ever thought I was going to. It was a really, really great read, and well, we've got something a bit special Ariel related in a moment to show you. It's got a little turned over, like a little closed hair there, but on the back there it shows the first 20 penguins, such as they were at the time. But that's a pretty nice copy of that one. Obviously I want to get rid of that thing where it says reprint on the front, but it's in pencil and it's very, very light, so it's just coming off super easy. Look at that. We know it's a reprint. One of my little obsessions is Ariel. And then we had another one here, and this one also, this isn't in a wrapper. So what printing is this one? It's got some writing inside. This is a second impression. Oh yeah, because it just lists the first 10 on the front. Once again, it says reprint there, so we'll get rid of that. Now, it has got, sadly, it's got quite a bit of writing there. So, George Rees, Port Talbot, 55, 20p, and what does it say? The use of force. Robust, temporary, it may subdue, but it does not remove the necessity of subducing again. Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's all very well putting your poetry in, but, you know, you're not leaving me with a nice mint book, I'm afraid. However lyrical it might be. Thankfully, all these marks here are in pencil, so I'm hoping that they'll come off reasonably easily. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, see, I don't really want that in there. It's as simple as that. So it's a personal choice. It's nothing to do with the book. Well, it might be a quote from the book, but not one that I remember. But it's something that someone's actually written in off their own back. And to me, that's not what I want. I want the books as close to as they were published as possible. And the only sort of signatures I'm interested in are if it was somebody connected with the book, like the author, illustrator, publisher, that sort of thing. Then I'll leave a signature or a dedication in. But if it's something I can pull out, just because someone quite fancied that particular line, it's coming out, I'm afraid. That's just the way I roll. Lots of people, I reckon probably half the viewers of this video would have said, oh, I would have just left that. It wasn't particularly offensive or anything like that, but to me, it was. You know, I prefer that not to be in there. So, personal choice. As I said, very, very personal choice. But for me, yeah. I am going to give this one the brush now. So, 2 copies of Ariel, the second and the third. So quite nice to have 2 vintage editions from the 1930s. But how about that one? Look at that. So this one has just been published. I think it was published the very tail end of 2024, so on the 100th anniversary. And this is a new edition of it. So there we are. Look at this. Far funkier than you might expect. Percy Bysshe Shelley. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, Andre Maurice. But a new translation by Alex Daniel. And this is from Cy Birdie Publishing. So translation, urban and thought-provoking. So this is published by the World Land Trust. And as I said, Cy Birdie, you can pick this one up online through Amazon. I don't know if the regular high street bookshops will be having a copy, but you can definitely order it through them. And this is a new translation, which I've yet to read. I've had it in my possession for about a week or so. And I am very much looking forward to seeing how this holds up to the one that I read last year. It certainly does look a little bit different, doesn't it? Yeah, perhaps more up to date. Yes. I think it looks really interesting. So, I shall let you know how I get on with that one. But there we are. Ariel from the 1930s and then the mid-2025. So there you go. Brilliant. So thanks to Cy Birdie for sending me that one, and one that you might want to check out. Now a bit of classic Doctor Who. So this is the one of the very earliest, one of the first 3 Target books that were released in 1973. You can always tell the originals because they've got this partial ISBN on the bottom of the spine. This one isn't bad. It is a difficult book to find in tip-top shape. It's got that fantastic Christos Achilles cover, and it's one of my all-time favourite Target books. So when I come across copies, I find it hard to turn them down. This one doesn't appear to have any markings inside at all, and it should say first printing 1973. there we are. Obviously, it was a reprint from the mid-60s, 1964. They published 3 books, but this was the first time they'd been put into Target form, and this launched the famous Target books. This had been in paperback before, but this was the first Target edition. I think it's an absolute cracker, that one. So lovely to get that, and I'll compare it against my own one. An Odd Panther as well, Soccer Revolution. This was part of the Eric Gadd collection. He had very little in the way of like Panther books. In fact, he had some really early ones, but this is the only sort of later one. He didn't have any Corgi that I can remember seeing. A lot of the publishers he just didn't touch at all. Badger Books, Digit, he didn't have any of those at all. But this one he did, and I was really pleased to get it. It's a Panther I've not got, 1955, and it's a good subject, football. It's always a good subject. Yeah, quite nice, that one. Yeah, I don't mind a bit of vintage football stuff. It's it's quite a nice collectible little subject, and for some reason an odd Penguin handbook, which I think I shall put aside because I've got a whole box of Penguin handbooks to do, so we won't do that one today. A few little pans now, and it's some of the earlier Pan books, and I'll clean these up. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to brush these down, and then we'll get on with the Pan books, because it's some of their very, very early Pan books, and they're going to need to come out of their dust wrappers to have the edges nicely brushed off. As I film this today, and this video is going to be filmed over 2 days, but as I film this today, it's very, very windy and wet. We're coming out of a storm in the UK, and consequently, the real side effect where I live, it's not so much the wind, it's the really awful heavy rain. So you might hear a bit of raindrops on the studio ceiling, but hopefully that's not too distracting. In fact, you may even find it a little bit relaxing. Anyway, let's get the first Pan book out. So I've got a little run of these earlier Pan books, and people seem to forget that Pan, their initial books were actually hardback, not paperback, and I've had multiple copies of A Christmas Carol through my hands. This one, I have to say, is one of the better dust wrappers that I've come across. The book itself looks a bit well read, and we'll have a look at that in a minute, but the dust wrapper is actually better than most. So obviously I'm going to be comparing this one against the one that I've already got, but the actual copy of the book, unfortunately, it's spine rolled. So we'll take out that £1.50. I bought a big collection of books of Pan from Steve Hare about 3 or 4 years ago now, and his Penguin collection, you may remember, has gone to a university library, but his other non-Penguin stuff I bought, and there was 3 copies of this one in it, if you can believe it. And I did sell them all online, and I was really surprised. They were making really good money, a bit like the King Penguin for A Christmas Carol. But yeah, this one, it's just a great story, isn't it? It's not like it ever goes out of print. So this one's seen better days. It's got a spine roll, but the dust wrapper is actually really nice. So I'm going to do a little bit of comparison there and see how that dust wrapper holds up against my own copy, because I suspect it may even be a little bit better. They're very, very susceptible to chipping. It's as simple as that, this particular wrapper, because like all the Pan dust wrappers from this period, they're paper thin. They are absolutely so thin that they just fall apart just by looking at them. Got the nice Mervyn Peake designed original Pan logo there. They did 3 hardbacks. Here's the second one, Scenes of London Life. Another one which is very, very hard to get in tip-top shape. And I don't think I've ever seen one with a perfect unfaded spine, because the spine should be this light salmon pink colour, and they're always faded, because you only got to look at this. You're going to put this in the sun. It's like a vampire. It's already faded, But once again, it's not too bad. I have seen far worse. a couple of little closed tears here, which I'm wondering if we can sort out while we're here. Because I will pop these in a bag once I've been through and compared them against my own copies. I think I've got a pretty nice one of this, but even so, it's nice to get. Dickens, of course, again. And I guess they were printed because potentially they might have been out of copyright, I suppose, or the copyright was very, very cheap. That's a much better example. That's very nice. Yeah, scenes of so the actual book's lovely, and in fact, that's not a bad copy at all of what is all these ones are these early pans are scarce. This is before the familiar paperbacks that we all know and love. There is one other hardback to do. This was the other one, Diary of a Nobody. Another one that is difficult to get. Now this one comes with two different coloured boards. This is the red one, and there is another edition. It's got some tape there, so it's had some tape reinforcement along there. It's magic tape, but I'm just going to leave it exactly as is. I don't want to interfere with that. It's actually a pretty clean dust wrapper, that one. You can clearly see the spine and stuff, which isn't bad. Now, how's the actual book? It's a bit dusty on the boards. I mean, might as well do the edges while we're at it. To Miss Thompson, from Ruby, Christmas 1947. Miss Thompson, you say? Here we are. Another book that I suspect was probably very easy to reprint because it was, I'm guessing, probably out of copyright at the time, or the copyright was, very, very cheap to obtain, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, another one. Very nice, and that's the original 3-pan hardbacks, and then they did 3 paperbacks. Now, alas, I've only got 2 of them. There is one missing, which is the horror anthology. Sadly, that's the best one as well. But we've got 4 other books to have a look through, so we'll have a look at these. Once again, if we look at the spines of all of those, that one appears to be the best one. The other ones are worn or disappeared completely, and that is absolutely normal for these. They're just so tough to find. I think they're tough to find anyway, but try and find them with really nice, perfect spines, and you've got a bit of a job on your hands. And I have had, over the years, probably 10 of all of these through my hands, 10 copies each, and I upgrade and try and get the best one. But nice copies are not easy to find. It is as simple as that. But I suspect this could be an improver on my own one. What's it like inside? Quite tight, actually. Yeah. That was put in by the bookshop. July 46, probably when it came into stock. That was their little reminder. Yeah, I suspect that this one's probably going to end up being an upgrade to the one I've already got. Because he's very nice, that, quite square, of a book which is genuinely scarce. Sentimental Journal, once again, that may be an improver. Look at that nice spine. That, believe me, that is rare on these. I'm sure this is better than the one I've got, but look at that. What's going on there? Something's been taped in or something, hasn't it? What a shame. Oh, and there. I'll tell you what that was. I bet you that's why that's so nice. That was in some sort of protective wrapper, which has come off. And it's left those residue marks of the tape. Else that would have been an absolute corking copy. But it's had a plastic sleeve on it or something like that, a dust jacket to protect it, and that's why we've got those tape marks. What a shame. So I doubt that is now going to be a better copy than the one I've got. But we don't mind. These are all doubles, so I will have spares of all of these. As I said, they are quite scarce, but I shall pop them in my for sale box. I haven't got a lot of Pan spares at the moment, hardly any. Everything is sold. It's just incredible. Very, very popular publisher is Pan. I've not bought a lot myself, Pan-wise, lately, actually. I've had so many good Penguin hits. The Pan stuff has gone out the window a little bit, you know. But there you go. Anyway, that's a bit of comparing to do. I'm doing all this now because I've got a book fair coming up, and I want as many of my doubles sorted out so I can take them along with me. Brilliant. There we are. Okay, so a complete change of pace. These two books here have both got faults with stickers. So there's a big sticker there, and on the back, this one's got a sticker that I want to get off. Now, what I heard from my friend Dorset Bob was that if you use some eucalyptus oil and just dab that on, it takes off stickers without leaving any sort of mark. So I'm going to try it on that one, and then I'm going to also try it on that one. So I picked up some eucalyptus oil from the supermarket, and I have yet to do this. It's going to be a bit of an experiment. I love the smell of eucalyptus oil. It's gorgeous, isn't it? I need to be very, very careful. Oh, the smell is incredible. Right, so I've got a kitchen cloth here, and I'm just going to dab. So it's a couple of dots, basically. And let's apply this onto the sticker. Oh, you can smell it. Now, I don't think that was enough liquid on there, so it doesn't feel like it was enough. So I'm going to put a couple more dots on. I suppose I am putting it onto an absorbent kitchen towel, but less can sometimes be more. So we'll just leave that there for now. And then this one, well, this is far more serious. This is Bloomsbury, for their 21st anniversary, produced a range of their best books, and they were knocked out cheap come the end. I've got a few of them in my collection, and yeah, this is in the Waterstone Stale at $2.99, but it left this awful sticker residue on, which I'm going to try and once again get off with the eucalyptus oil, and we'll see if it does indeed lift it off. I suspect we're going to need to actually literally drop a few drops on and then dab it around. There we are. It's just... And I don't mind experimenting on this particular one. So I think you could safely say we've clearly done it on that one. So we'll let that one soak in a little bit. And I think we may need to be a little bit more aggressive on this one as well. There we are. Let's just really, really soak it properly. Like that. So there we are. So we'll let those two like sort of go for the time being, and we'll see how we get on with that. But it's a little experiment that you're seeing here live in the studio. And worst case scenario, I've got some beautiful eucalyptus oil, which smells lovely. Now, speaking of Agatha Christie, look at this. The Agatha Christie Junk Journal. So this is from my friend Gary Levisi, or rather his wife, Lucille. And she sent me this over for Christmas. It's an interactive junk journal with a removable ephemera, original art, images and more, all handmade and aged to look as if it fell out of the pocket. Agatha Christie. And there we are. I think this could be quite something. Now, gotta admit, I'm absolutely intrigued to see what's in here. It reminds me a little bit of the Dennis Wheatley dossiers that we had on the channel recently, Jim. If you saw that video. I'm trying to get into it here. Okay. Right. Wow, okay, this seems to be... Is this how we get into it? Yep, there we are. Now there is a little letter here of some sort. What does this say? Agatha Christie Junk Journal. It's a bio and ephemera guide. Oh, so it's a little bit about Agatha Christie, where she was born. Note on Hughes, Macy and Company, Agatha Christie's agents. A wanted poster, which replicates the ones when Agatha Christie went missing. Egyptian items. Photos are actual images of Agatha displaying her love of Egypt. A note on clotted cream, because she's from the West Country, of course. And actual quotes made by Agatha Christie, as well as comments referring to some of her famous story plots. Wowee, okay. Eden Philpotts recommends Hugh Massey and Company, Edmund and Co. Reprints Naomi Marsh. Blimey O'Reilly, look at this. Poirot is a murderer. Brilliant, it says. Wow. This is something else, isn't it, this? Passport. Oh, it's a driving license. Huh. This is incredible, isn't it? Fold out map. Rhubarb pills. It's like a themed, almost like a themed scrapbook, isn't it? Wowee. What if everybody did it? That was Murder on the Orient Express, wasn't it? Almost everybody did it. Bits of stuff everywhere, isn't there? Marriage certificate to her first husband. Wow. I don't want to damage it in any way, but wowee, this is incredible, isn't it? This is really quite something. Very, very interesting. And if you know a little bit about Agatha Christie's life, you can see there's a lot of thought gone into this. Lucille has done very well. There's a little Egyptian scarab beetle there. And some hieroglyphics, of course. Wowee. Yeah, you could sort of see one of these being produced almost professionally, wouldn't you? Like they've done a few journals lately, like the Indiana Jones journal, for example. Wow. Amazing. What's this? Wow, little letter to her, referring to the man in the brown suit. It's just mad, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. Lucille, if you're watching, I'm absolutely blown away by this. I just can't believe the effort that's gone into it. Look at this. It does look very, very genuine, doesn't it? I mean, just incredible. Little newspaper clippings. This is with Christie when she disappeared, and as we know, she turned up again, safe and well. There we are. Look, crazy. That's a real labour of love. This. The photographs here. That might be her with. Is that with her first or second husband? Max Mallowan was her second, wouldn't it? He was the archaeologist, so it's probably with her second husband, that one. Some more Egyptian influence stuff. Yes, archaeology is interesting to me, I think it said. So. Wow. Well, there you go. So, if this is the sort of thing that you might be interested in getting yourself, do drop my friend Gary an email. He's got a YouTube channel, Gary Lavisi. This is actually made by his wife, Lucille. Very, very talented. Look at this, just incredible. And this is something quite special. So look at that. How incredibly cool. That's the second year on the trot. They've sent me something really amazing Agatha Christie wise. So thank you very, very much for that, guys. That's really, really something indeed. Amazing. I mean, literally incredible. I'm blown away by that. I think this is how it all goes back together. Wow. Wait till I show it to my sister, who's perhaps more of an Agatha Christie fan than even I am. So, Lucille, awesome, awesome. Thank you very, very much indeed. Right, so back to the labels now. So, this has had time to soak in. Is it now going to just come off smoothly? Obviously, I'm doing it very, very slowly. Well, I have to admit, I was hoping that using the eucalyptus oil was just going to basically dissolve the glue, and it would mean that this would just like slide off. Because I think if I'd have tackled this particular sort of sticker with my traditional Mr. Sheen polish, I think it probably would have done that. It would have just dissolved it a bit more. I think the time to use eucalyptus oil is if it's on something which is quite expensive. And this particular Agatha Christie Fontana book is, in fact, an expensive book. It's not, her rarest by any means. It's just a misprint. And we'll have an actual look at it once I've got this sticker off. But that could be some time. So I won't keep you here. But suffice to say, I'm just teasing it off with the end of my fingernail until it's off completely. So I shall cut there and I'll be back. So the sticker came off in virtually one piece, as you can see, which is good news. It has left a little bit of sticky residue, which I'm just sort of getting together with my thumb here. Just sort of rolling it all into a ball to get shot off. And then I would say that that's now ready. There we are, it's gone almost completely. that is now ready for my normal sort of polishing. So I don't polish all my books, but I polish some. So what is special about this one? So the first time Third Girl got published by Fontana Books, and it does say new in paperback, they added the. So it shouldn't be The Third Girl, it should just be Third Girl. And they make the same mistake on the spine, but not inside, as you can see. But the first printing, the one you're looking for, is 1968, and I've got the second printing, and it's corrected, and it just says Third Girl. Now, a lot of people seem to suggest that this first printing were mainly exported because the copies that you tend to see offered are generally overseas. And interestingly, you can see that there's over the 3 and 6 there, which is clearly the British price, but you can almost see once again a bit of sticker residue, which we'll get to in a minute. But I think that may have been over stickered with 25 cents or wherever it may have ended up around the world. But it's a scarce book. It really, really is. And, well, we'll give it a bit of a dedicated polish a little bit later. I'll just do the edges now. But that's the one to look for, and I'm really pleased because I've been on the lookout for an affordable copy for quite some time. And James messaged me and said, yeah, Jules, I've got one if you want it. And, well, there we are. I'll be more than happy with that. Obviously got that fantastic Tom Adams jacket. But yeah, quite the rarity. Now, what about the other one then? So this we did give a really, really good soak to. Is it going to be the case of it's just going to lift off now? Because I've got to admit, I've had this book since it was published, and it had such a horrible sticker tear on the front. I've never had the patience to sort of tackle it. I mean, that to me doesn't feel any better than when we were doing it to begin with. So I don't know. I mean, you can clearly sort of see that it's been had some eucalyptus put on it. I just don't think it's gone through enough. Maybe I just haven't used enough. So I'm willing to go back and have another go. And I think we're just going to go heavy on the eucalyptus action to see what potentially might happen. As I say, it's all a bit of an experiment, but we don't mind that. I'm going to put it on quite liberally there. In fact, that is quite liberal. And we're just going to leave it. And if that doesn't do the trick, then, well, eucalyptus oil, well, I would say the jury is out. It did take it off, the Third Girl. I mean, it did take it off there. But I do believe, just with my regular polish, I probably could have got that off to begin with anyway. So we'll let that soak again over there. And we'll do, well, we've got a couple of hardbacks now. C.S. Forster, Mr. Hornblower. He's an author I do collect, and this hardback came my way. I'm still in two minds about actually keeping it, but it is a hardback first. It's not mint by any means. It's not like mega collectible, but it's one I haven't got. I don't really collect his non-Hornblower stuff. Back in the day, talking like about 1990, I always remember I was in New Zealand, and my gran emigrated out there, and the bookshops there were predominantly hardback. And I remember going to a local auction with my sister, because we were over there for 3.5 weeks, living in New Plymouth, ironically. And there was a local auction, and there was some boxes of some groups of books, and I picked up a group of books. I only wanted one book in it, which was The African Queen by C.S. Forster, and it was a beautiful, virtually unread hardback from, I think, 1933. And I'd paid 75 cents for it, which at that time was 25 pence in UK money. And when I brought it back to the UK, I sold it. I had a book dealer friend of mine who had a customer for Forster. He was collecting him, and it was one that he needed. And at the time, The African Queen was listed fine at £200 in Book and Magazine Collector, and I knew I'd only paid 25p for it, so I gladly accepted the £75 that my dealer friend offered me for it. I thought, yeah, thanks very much. But he knew that he had this Brigadier. He was going to buy it for 200, and that's exactly what happened. But I do sort of regret getting rid of it anyway in 1954, because it was so nice. It was incredible, absolutely mint, mint, you know, just insane. And of course today that's a £1,000 book, if not more, you know. But back in 1990, when I first got my hands on a copy, the only copy I've even seen in the flesh, it wasn't quite worth that much. However, this is all right, actually. It's not too bad. I think I am going to keep this one with my other Forester collection. As I said, I've got a full run of the Hornblower in hardback first edition in dust wrapper. Every single one. They're not all tip-top, but it is a full set of one of my all-time favourite, well, it's definitely my favourite maritime series, the Hornblowers. But his other stuff, he was such a good writer. His other stuff is really good as well. So, yeah, not mint, but I got it so cheap, I'm not going to say no to it. You know, I'm just going to keep that one. He'll be all right. I'll pop it in a plastic sleeve to protect that dust wrapper at some point, and we'll leave it there. It's got a little bit of spine roll, which I've sort of pushed out a little bit, where it's been read a little bit. But, yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. I might want to just try and straighten that ever so slightly. Now, I'm tempted, looking at this book again, I'm tempted to go back to this. Because, look, it looks like it's like devastation. So, shall we just see how easy the actual eucalyptus oil is still on the surface? But is it making it easier for this horrible sticker to come off? To me, I mean, the sticker is so stubborn. You just can't believe it. These sales stickers, I remember these Waterstone sales stickers were notorious. And you still see them around today on old annuals and things like that they used to clear out cheap. I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. In fact, it's not made it worse, but it's just not doing what we need it to do. So, I don't know. One of the good things about eucalyptus oil, apparently, is that it won't leave staining. So we'll have a little look on that to see how that looks at the end. But I'm just going to, I think maybe I OD'd it. We'll leave it to one side and see what it's looking like in another hour or so. Right, we got one more hardback to do, which is an Arthur Ransome. Now, I don't really collect Arthur Ransome. I've got the Puffins. So the Puffin storybooks of Arthur Ransome I have got. And I think I've got them all, which is no mean feat because there's quite a few of them. So let's have a look at the wrapper first of all. This has been, well, it's definitely seen better days, and these are around in quite nice condition. So this is not particularly tip-top shape by any standards, but it is, I believe, a first printing. So hopefully someone will want this one. It's not one I'm going to keep, but I am going to try and tidy it up a little bit to make it a little bit more attractive for somebody. Slightly dusty boards. But the brush does wonders on that sort of thing. And since we got the brush out, we might as well do the edges now. Actually was very, very dusty. There we are. Okay, yeah, it's got the maps in internally. So far, so good. Yeah, first published 1943, so it's a wartime one. But as I said, I don't think these are particularly expensive. It's a cheap a cheap series to collect, except the first one, which is, of course, Swallows and Amazons. This is quite a way down the list of titles, but I don't believe there's anything else we can do with that. It's just a nice... That's as good as we're going to get it. Although I think if we pop it into a plastic sleeve for the dust wrapper, I think it will protect it and stop it fraying anymore. And I think it will probably make a world of difference, because you can see it's quite delicate there. So I think that will make a huge difference. So once again, a bit like the C.S. Forester, I shall get those two tidied up in the fullness of time. Right, on to something a bit different now. Also recently published in early January was the latest issue of the Penguin Collector. Still no sign of issue 100. It's stuck on a computer from what I gather, so it's still waiting to be published. But we have had 101 and we have had number 102. And this is published by the Penguin Collectors Society. Some interesting stuff there. That was the Penguin Book Fair that I attended. That's the Penguin Collection in Plymouth University Library, which is a set of the first 1,000, missing one book, don't know which one. And this is just your latest Penguin Collector, and it comes out twice a year with a special each year, and well worth it is too. So if you've got even a passing interest in Penguin books and Penguin book collecting and Penguin history, you do yourself a favour and join the Penguin Collectors Society. I always link to them in my descriptions down below, but just, penguincollectorsociety.org is what you want to be looking up, and you can sign up and join the society. Right, a few more books then. We got some B formats now. Now, you may have seen a video that I did recently where I was unpacking about 8 boxes of 70s and early 80s Penguin books. That's what it was. And in those boxes were books that I've pulled out for myself, and that's what I've got today. So quite a lot of the books that we're going to be seeing are going to be 70s and 80s Penguins. Not everything, but some of it. And they all needed a bit of a clean-up, and that's what we're doing here. So I was really lucky last year, as you know, to buy an extensive Penguin collection. Really, really extensive, in fact. And part of the collection, which I wasn't really expecting, was that there was a comprehensive collection of Penguin first editions from 1971 to about 1981. And because of that, although they weren't my top priority, there was going to be stuff in there that I was definitely interested in. So that's what I was sorting out. So in my last video, you saw me sorting those books out, and I've now sorted them into the stuff that I'm going to keep, the stuff that's going to be traded on. And I'm being quite selective with what I'm keeping, simply because there's so much of it, you just can't keep it all. And I've already got to the stage now where I've started putting some stuff into storage at a friend's house until such time as I move. And I don't really wanted to do that, but I sort of have to, simply because I haven't got the room to move to process the stuff that I'm looking to get rid of. You need a bit of space, a bit of working room, and that's what I've been struggling for. But when you get great collections coming in, which I did, I had 2 epic collections last year, and you just can't turn them down. When they come your way, you have to act. And thankfully, I was in a position to be able to buy those collections, and I'm now just in the process of processing them, sorting them out, and finally starting to sell some of the bits and pieces on. But it all takes time, doesn't it? And I've got high standards, and I want the books to be as nice as possible and also as clean as possible before they go into my collection. And that's what we're doing here. So this is quite nice. It's a B format Penguin Modern Classic. Look at that. It looks almost unread to me. Yes, probably very interesting. But I've got a few B format. This was another one that looked really good. The Magic of Lewis Carroll. Good stuff. And what you'll see me rubbing out at the back here is where Alan first picked the books up. He just recorded the date and the place where he actually picked them up. This was 1975, and it had the name Julie, so I suspect he may have been given this one possibly. This was an interesting one that was in that same collection. By Any Means Necessary, Outlaw Manifestos and Ephemera. Apparently quite a collectible book, so I need to be careful with this one. It was picked up on the 19th of June 1976 in Stroud by Alan, who was the original owner of that big collection that I picked up. And this is certainly an unusual one. When I first popped this one onto when I picked up that collection, a few people commented about, oh God, you've got a copy of that. I can sort of see why. It is really, really unusual and quite special. So there we go, 1971. It appears to be a paperback original, so PBO. And Alan paid all of 50p for it. There we go. I would appreciate a really nice write-up about what this is all about. So if someone wants to delve into the comments and leave a bit of history about this one, I'd be really, really interested to know what on earth it's all about. So anyway, that one's even bigger than a B format, so I'm going to do the top edges. It's actually really clean. The good thing about this collection from Alan was, on the whole, the books were exceptionally clean condition. So I don't really need to worry too much about the brushing part of it, particularly in the more modern books, because they were bought and then stored in a good environment over in France. That's where they were kept. They've got some surface dust, as you might expect, with books that are basically 50 years old, but at the same time they're not too bad. But that's sort of broken, I wouldn't say it's broken the back by any means, because it hasn't, but that's a little bit of the pickup, and it's going to be a bit of an epic one today. It's not going to be a quick video, but you don't mind that anyway, do you? You can always watch it in stages if you like. Brilliant. Okay, good stuff. Okay, another day has passed, and I was at work yesterday, and now I'm back to finish off this recent book haul. And I looked back and I saw that I'd done about an hour's worth of footage, and I reckon we've got another hour's worth to go. So it's going to be a reasonably big one. I am actively this week, I've got loads of mail order that's come in on the back of my last video, where I've been sorting out vintage penguins from the 70s and 80s into little lots. And as per usual, the books are going right around the world, which is fantastic. But I've also got some wants from the individual volumes. So once I've got these done, which are the ones I'm keeping, some of these are going to be doubles, and I want to just compare the copies that are already in my collection, so I can then have a comprehensive pile of all the stuff that's spared, and then I should be able to get everything that I want to take with me to the Zardos book fair sorted, and also fill out the customers' wants lists that have come my way as well. So this is a really good one that I've already got. I think I've got quite a nice copy of it, but I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to double check, because this is a bit like a bookend to the Hornblower series, and by Forrester, and it's basically the life and times of Horatio Hornblower, the character, basically. All right, so absolutely fantastic. Really, really pleased to get a nice copy of this one. I'm a big Hornblower fan. This is one I actually haven't got in hardback first edition. I've got all the actual Hornblower novels in hardback first, and I don't really collect a lot of hardback first these days, but I loved the Forrester books so much, I did manage to track all those down a few years back. That's quite good. I've picked up the Somerset Maugham because, although I've only ever read a little bit of what he's written, the stuff that I've saved is going to make quite a comprehensive run of his titles. So that's why I'm sort of keeping these all together. This was unusual, a non-penguin. Well, it is a penguin, but it's a later Agatha Christie. So it's not in great shape. And the photo, I mean, that hardly even looks like her, does it? But this was a Christie I was unaware of, and that was published by Penguin in 1974. So I really don't know what happened at that point that Penguin somehow got the license to publish this book, and there's a handful of others as well. So there's a small little run which were released in the 70s, which for some unknown reason Penguin had the copyright to publish, rather than, if you remember, in the 60s and 70s, those lovely Tom Adams covers came out, and in fact the one for the mirror cracked from side to side is particularly good. So I was not aware that these were published by Penguin at all. So these were a bit of a discovery, so I'm going to try and track them down. Evidently that one with its black spine and creases is not the best copy, but even so I was really, really pleased and delighted. You know, I've not seen them documented anywhere, those 70s Penguin ones, so that was quite a discovery. This was good. This is a slightly later Wyndham, and he's an author I really like, and this is one I didn't have. These are, I believe this is part of the range of covers that were done by an artist called Peter Lord, and we'll check in a sec. They're usually, the cover illustrator is usually credited on the back on Penguin, which I always think was really good of them, and they've been doing that since the 60s. Yeah, Peter Lord was the cover artist, and yeah, it was just, I mean, yeah, 1980. I suppose Wyndham was selling so well, and don't forget 1980 was the year of the first BBC televisual adaptation of Day of the Triffids, which was really big, as I recall, in its day when that first went out. Certainly it terrified me as a youngster. This is quite good, yeah, Simonon on Simonon. It's a shame it's got a faded spine, but I've never even seen it before. So an actual autobiography by Simonon, which is fantastic. So really pleased to get this one. I love finding books I never really knew much about, or even didn't know existed, like this one. And that was the case with quite a bit of this 70s stuff, because it's not really, there is a catalogue, the publisher's complete catalogue, which does list a lot of the 70s stuff. But at the same time, it's not very good quality, and it's not something I've referenced against. And online, you've got the Penguin First Editions website, but that sort of only does up to number 3000. It doesn't really include, although there is a little bit, of ISBN stuff, you know. Yeah, pleased with that one. And another Simonon omnibus as well. Although I think this, although the spine's nice and green, it's like the front potentially has had a little bit of fading somehow. Hard to know without having another one to compare it to. But at the same time, the Simonon omnibuses turn up. They're not that rare, but they turn up damaged quite a lot. I've got some lower grade ones that I'm going to put into stock, which I'm sure people who want to read the stories, because you get 3 in a book, the people who want to read the stories will be absolutely fine with. Although, having read a few of the more recent Simonon translations that Penguin put out in the last 10 years when they republished them, I think those are actually better than the period translations that Penguin published in the 50s, 60s and 70s. But that's just my personal opinion. This is one that I bought off eBay, and it's the original jacket, but unfortunately I made the fatal mistake. It's the first reprint, it's not actually the first Penguin. So I was a bit annoyed at that. Yeah. So it's one that's still going to be on my wants list as one I'd like to track down in first printing. But I have got a list, obviously, of all the stuff up to 2,700 that I'm sure of. And it's not that big a list, in actual fact, of first printings that I'm missing. But this is one of them. And unfortunately, I picked this one up. I thought, oh, that looks nice square copy. It's the reprint, which is a little bit frustrating. But there you go. You can't win them all. This was nice. Once again, mint unread. It's looking at the early life of Winston Churchill. It reprints his Malaccan Field Force, London to Ladysmith books, and around the time this was published, there was the movie Young Churchill, which is this period is the books that he wrote came out during that period when he was covering the Boer War as a journalist. So I was very pleased to get that one. Once again, one I'd not seen. I collect Churchill books in his own right. On the whole, I don't collect absolutely everything, like every speech and pamphlet and stuff like that, but the actual books I do pick up when I see them. This was unusual. I think this is quite a collectible title, Sons of Darkness, Sons of Light. I'm going to do a little bit more research on this one, but I hear it's quite an in-demand one. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a mid-70s gem that I was going to definitely keep in my post 3000 Penguin collection. Yeah, very nice indeed. Nice bit of science fiction. I suspect once I've got this one already, and some of the science fiction that we've got coming up, because I did find some more after I went through sorting the initial books. I found some more SF. I suspect I've got it, in which case I will have a little bit of spare Penguin science fiction, which will be good news. I pulled to one side all the Graham Greens. I have already got some post Penguin 3000. So once again, I'm going to go through, before the book fair, I'll compare what I've got and what I might have spare. I've actually had someone email me looking for the Penguin Graham Greens. They always sell really well. I suspect I've got some of the 60s ones in stock as well, still. So I'll dig those out and get back to him. Now, this is nice, Chester Himes. Not the greatest of copies, these Chester Himes books, but previously in the UK they were published by Panther, and Penguin started publishing in 1974. So they must have got the rights off Panther and decided to print the copies themselves. I need to make a little bit of room here. So that's really good. I've got a handful of the Panthers, maybe one or two. I've certainly not got them all because they're really interesting covers as well. Very much of their era, late 60s, early 70s. But I have also got about 4 American paperback originals, because Chester Himes came out in America's PBOs. He didn't really get hardbacks till much later. And they're really nice collectible copies. Avon, I think, published them. Or published some of them anyway. Yeah, I think I've got 4 different ones of him in paperback first. Here's a Penguin Modern Classic, which there was a reasonable stack of these in the collection, so I was really pleased. I enjoy these modern classics more than the regular classics. It tends to be just stuff which is a little bit more accessible to me to actually read. Some of the classics, particularly the really ancient classics, I just can't read those at all. It's not something I've ever been able to get into, sadly. Here is some more. But when they're like this sort of condition, you just can't go wrong, can you? You cannot go wrong. And it really was a terrific collection. It's just literally taken 6 months and I'm still sorting it out now. But having things like the book fair on the horizon does certainly focus the mind, and you don't get so distracted, shall we say. Absolutely perfect. Here's another Graham Greene, Travels with My Aunt. So sometimes these are the first time Penguin have got them, because in the end Penguin got all of Graham Greene. But prior to this, there were some that were published by Pan. And they were a little bit scattered, his backlist. And I think around this sort of time, Penguin got all the stuff that they were missing, so it could all sort of be uniform under the one umbrella. So published Penguin in 1972. There we are. Travels with My Aunt. Oh, it's another Simon, and it's an actual individual one. So they were still publishing some of his later books as individual solo volumes. And you can see why they put them into omnibuses. You can see how thin this little book is. Each one is almost like a novella rather than an actual book. And even back in the 50s, Penguin would sometimes publish 2 Simonon books in one. It's like a miniature omnibus, Yes, I'm not such a fan of this blimmin' rubber, I have to say. It's been annoying me a little bit lately. I think I might jump online later and try and get one of my old plastic rubbers back. So here's the first penguin of Chucky. This is slightly earlier, Harry Willocks. This is a 70s one. $1970 exactly, in fact, but I was delighted because once again it was one I didn't have. So even though it's not in the greatest of shape, it's not mint, like most of my Wyndhams are really tip-top shape. It's got that pen on the front there, which is a shame. It will do, you know. I'm absolutely fine with this copy. It can have everything pristine, as much as I may want it. There we are, that's Chucky. Another ground green here. Sort of Life. That is long-awaited autobiography. I mean, blimey O'Reilly. Bit stingy, yeah, 156 pages. A bit rubbish, really, isn't it? Captain and the Enemy. Yeah, Paul Hogarth is the cover artist on that one. So these are nice. I know I haven't got them all, but I've got most of them. So I'm hoping that I'll have a nice little run of spares for a customer who's asked for some this week. And within, I particularly like the 1960s Graham Greene editions that Penguin published. I mean, I'm a huge fan of those. And in the end, they did a massive wedge of his output, Penguin. They published almost all of it. So, and have been publishing him for 4 years, you know. 10th Man. Yeah, it's going to make a really good author on this. You know, to complement the originals in the Penguin series. As I said, I will have some spare, I think. That I've already got. Loser Takes All. Right, so that's another pile done. We've got 3 more stacks to go. Do something a little bit different now. So here's the latest book from my friend Peter Infantino, and it's called Sleaze Alley. Now this is a look, there he is there on the back with his collection of over 1,000 vintage Sleaze paperbacks. And this book is basically, it sort of highlights the early work by some top name authors who went on. They started their careers writing this sort of stuff just to sort of pay the bills, really. And it says you'll be treated to early work by Lawrence Block, Ivan Hunter, Ed McBain, of course, Donald Wesley, and Robert Silverberg. Sordid fiction that at least one of these men denied authorship of right to the grave. But you need a guide, one who'll help you avoid stepping in something sticky. What are you waiting for? Step through the beaded curtain and discover what glories await you. So this is great. The covers are reproduced. I mean, they're ridiculously tame by today's standards, but the books are reviewed. They're given a little mark out of 5 as well. Artists are noted. I mean, it's really, really great. So look out for a guarded review of this one fairly soon. I'm going to go through it, and any of the books that are in here, because I've got a bit of a collection of about 150 of these Sleaze books by bigger name authors that I picked up years ago. I'm going to pull all the ones that are featured in this book out so we can look at the actual books alongside the review of this one. So that's one that'll be coming up at some point in February. But in the meantime, this one's available on Amazon. I'll try and remember to pop a link to that exact listing in the description down below. But yeah, looks a lot of fun, that one. This latest book, actually a huge thing, so it only just fits in the picture. This is a hardback that I picked up at the Shepton Mallet Toy Fair. It has got a £5 on, which is what I paid for it. The dealer said, it was a toy dealer, and he said, I'm having to clear out a lot of my reference books, they take up so much room. I do know what he means. And even though I would say I'm not a massive a board game collector, I do like board games, and I thought, well, I'm going to grab this while I've got it. So it's got a really nice glossy top, so I'm just going to go straight in with the spray on this one. And it's got a few marks on it, which I'd like to get off. We'll leave that soaking a bit while I do the rest of it. And yeah, I absolutely love board games, but they take up masses and masses of room. So my friend George has got, you may have seen his like Doctor Who collection, which I featured in some of his various comic collections. Well, George has got a great board game collection. He must have 100, but it's predominantly TV and film related ones. So I think it would make an absolutely fascinating video. Obviously, I'd have to go around to his house to actually film the collection, but it's something that we are thinking about doing. So it would be really, really cool to do that. A whole video of old vintage TV and film board games, and he's got them all. So all the really great ones from the 60s and earlier, in fact, and later. So, but predominantly 1960s. But this book was great for a £5. I mean, it says it gives prices, which it does, but you take those with a bit of a pinch of salt these days. It's whatever really anyone wants to pay. But some of these I would have had. I mean, Trench Football, I had that as a glass-topped dexterity puzzle at one point. So there's a few here. There's like, some more modern ones, like Escape from Colditz is included. But I think it's just really, really fascinating. If I see a couple in here, I might put them on the old wants list as ones to pick up, because I quite like small ones. I quite like golf-related little games, because they like golf dice and things like that. Really vintage ones. So I'm going to have a good look through this one. It looks really good fun, as you can see. So that was one of my bargain finds from Shepton Mallet. So just a little update with regards the Susanna Clarke. So as I said, this is a couple of days after I started filming this video, and you remember we soaked all that in the eucalyptus oil. Hasn't really lifted it off in any way at all. It's just going to be one of those ones that I think it's just going to have to be picked at bit by bit, and it's going to take like an hour to get that off. So I'm not going to do that on video, of course. The eucalyptus oil dried completely clear, so you can't see any of that, even though a bit of it seeped over to the side. It is, from that point of view, it does leave no residue marks whatsoever, even on a brand new book like this one. But the jury is still out. Lots of people have said to me to try something called Glue Be Gone, or something along those lines. So I might give that one a try. So I might keep that one to one side, get some of this glue be gone, and we'll have another go in next month's pickup videos. All right, so just to give a little update on that particular book. Next we got, well, 3 more stacks rather, of books to get through, and, well, yet another Graham Greene. So this one here is the Penguin edition of Journey Without Maps, and this was first in paperback by Pan Books, actually, quite early on. A lot of the Graham Greenes, the majority of them, right back to the 1960s, when they started doing jackets, are by Paul Hogarth, the artist, and I do like his style. And I do find Graham Greene, he is a great writer. It's as simple as that. He was one of the greats, and certainly an author I've really, everything I've read of his, particularly Brighton Rock, which is probably up in my top 20 books ever, I've really enjoyed. I do have one of his 60s books. It's a Penguin one, and it's actually a review copy. It's really nice. Here's another Churchill one, the latter Churchills, or later Churchills, and it's also unread. So I'm not sure what period this covers, but I'm going to have a quick look. So what is this then? In this sequel to the early Churchills, which we saw earlier, which sets a model for family history, A.L. Rouse continues the fascinating story of the Churchill family, from the death of the Duke of Marlborough in 1722 down to its resurgence, up to Lord Randolph Churchill and his son. Okay, so there we are. So pretty much up to date up to that point. Urban Guerrilla, yeah, this one seemed quite interesting. Once again, it's going to be one of those ones that's going to need a little bit of research. But if if you're watching this and you recognise this title as one of those sort of culty ones, do let me know. We've seen a few this video, and there is more to come. In fact, the very next one, in fact, is an absolute outstanding example of that. So I have already got a copy of this, but it's not as nice as this. This is the first Penguin edition of A Clockwork Orange. It's really, really scarce. So we'll just have a little look before I clean it up. Published in Penguin in 1972. This is probably a £50 book, this one. It's a shame that it's not in such great nick as some of the other books that we've seen today. But, you know, I mean, I do have one, which is probably even worse than this, if you can believe it. And I've got a later edition, which has got the dictionary in as well, or it's got an extra chapter, I can't quite remember. But, of course, a lot of people think this is, you know, the iconic edition, and it is. However, they completely forget that it was first published in paperback by Pan, in a not so memorable cover, like a pink jacket. It's not bad, and I've had a couple of those in first print through my hands. That one tends to go for about a tenner. This is the one. This is the one, the David Pelham designed jacket. This is the one to look out for. And the first print of this, I can't remember the last time I saw a first of this one turn up. So I think it's particularly scarce. It is a shame that my copy is a little on the worn side, but I'm pulling out all the stops. It's got the dictionary, this one. Thankfully, all the marks were in pencil, which is good news. And I will keep the other editions. I'm not going to get rid of any of my spares of this. It's a book that I don't mind at all. It's quite interesting. And also, because it's got a few little marks on it, you can sort of see like a little mark on Alex's cheek there. I am going to give this one the polish as well. Absolutely fine to do it because the cover is actually glossy, so we're not going to damage it in any way. And I'm not going to be polishing all the books. I'm just going to polish the odd one like this, and because it actually does need the polish on it. It's just got a few marks that I'm hoping are going to come up. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's a rare one. And it's as simple as that. This is a real rarity in first print. Obviously, in this edition, it got reprinted, well, many times. Probably over 50 times, maybe more than that. Every 6 months, it was getting reprinted. So you try and find a first. Scarce indeed. And I suppose maybe the print run was a little bit low, even though it had the iconic cover on, because it had been out in paperback for about 6 years before Penguin got hold of it. You know, that's that original Pan. So they thought, well, all we've done is get the rights. Let's not go crazy, because it wasn't a new title. So maybe that's why this first print is a little bit on the scarce side compared to some. But there we are. That's as good as it's going to get. I might even treat that one and pop him in a bag, because he is a real collectible, that. So I'm very pleased to get that. Coup d'etat, a practical habit. This is another one which, to me, seems quite edgy. You know what I mean? It's that sort of interesting, slightly dangerous publishing that Penguin started doing in the 70s. Not a lot of it, but they started doing a little bit of it. And that sort of falls under this umbrella. And that's why I'm keeping this one. It's a nice example of an interesting title, you know. And it's the sort of thing you would only sort of come across if you were going through a huge sort of Penguin collection, you know. Dust going everywhere. All right, a bit of science fiction at last. Again, John Brunner. As I said, I did find a little bit more, thankfully, because there was a couple of 100 books that weren't included in that last video, and I ended up going through all of them. So I was completely up to date with everything, sort of post ISBN, and I was able to get it all sorted so that I could free up a few doubles and bits and pieces of what people have been asking me for. So there we are. But certainly Penguin SF is always sought after in my book. It just needs to be mint. But yeah, after I got the collection out of these 70s and 80s books, everything that I didn't want myself, I had my sister and her husband come round, and they pulled about 20 books between them. Then my mum and dad came around the very next day. They had another 10 or so. I said, "You're not trying, you know," but that was all they took. And everything else is just in stock. So here's the second Simenon omnibus, and believe me, you can see it's faded and it's been well read, so it's got a creased spine. The other ones that I turned away were sadly a lot worse than this condition, which is a shame. But if you don't want to track down the individual volumes, this is a great way to read them. I have got quite the run of Simenon in original Penguin. I've got all the ones pre-1000, every single one, but the post-3000 ones, I'm sure there's some I'm missing, but I'll get round to them eventually. No immediate hurry. Here's another Penguin modern classic, not in the greatest of shape, but he's okay. Henry James, Turn of the Screw. That's in ink, sadly, so that ain't going to go nowhere. Oh, another Simenon, an individual, Meg Ray on Holiday. Didn't we have a Meg Ray on Holiday? No, it was the Sailor's Rendezvous. It had a very similar jacket, didn't it? So this is a different one. Oh, look at this. Now this has had some sort of something sellotaped inside, or it's had a little jacket put on it, but thankfully the tape is just flaking off in my hand, like so. Thank goodness for that. Not sure what was, obviously something was inside there, you know. Let's hope it's not like an ex-library or something like that when we look at the front. I don't think it would be. Generally speaking, Alan, the original owner of these Penguins, kept the books in tip-top shape. So he didn't really buy rubbish. But there we are. Look, there was something in the front. I think this was some sort of ex-library edition of some sort, I think. And or there was definitely a false jacket that was wrapped around it and then sellotaped in, which is where these bits of tape have come from. But thankfully the tape's just flaking off in my hand because it's old and brittle, and there's yet more writing on the inside, so we're having to do our work today, aren't we? Well, there we are. So in some cases I may not bother, but since it's Simenon, you know, he's the man. Right, this is interesting. Not the greatest Western of all, but it is a John Wayne movie tie that I have never ever seen. So I'm definitely keeping this one. I've got a bit of a collection of movie tie-ins, particularly 1970s ones. That's my real area of expertise in movie tie-ins, sort of late 60s, early 70s. And this is going to be joining those in my tie-in collection. It's been ages since I've had my tie-ins out. Actually, I must dig them out, and I keep meaning to pull the Penguin and Pan movie tie-in books out to one side because they make quite a collection when you pull them together. Ivy Compton Burnett. Lovely. I picked up a few D.H. Lawrences. I didn't go mad, but I almost feel, once again, that they sort of bookend the main Penguin run. I might end up getting rid of them because I'm not a massive fan of him, to be honest. So these may, in actual fact, end up in stock because I'm not too fussed about keeping these. For now, they can go in the pile. I have to bear in mind how much space all these books are taking up, and I've already got to the stage where I've got to start storing some stuff at a friend's house. He's got plenty of room, and he said, well, you can store the books here until you sort of move house. So I said, oh, fair enough. And the first wave of boxes has gone out there. It's off-site now, and it's a shame, but it's stuff that's been well filmed, it's been cleaned, it's bagged, it's catalogued. I don't need it in the house, and it's given me a bit more room to sort out everything else, and the room's much appreciated. I've got so many toys that need to be got shot of, Simpsons stuff, and I've still got lots and lots of Star Wars, and it takes time, and my time at the moment is being taken up with these book collections that have come my way, unfortunately. Although we're not talking lots and lots of money with these books, unlike, say, the toys, you know, it's what I'm enjoying sort of processing at the moment. So it's been fantastic going through so many books in the last sort of 12 months or so. Okay. Another modern classic, Giovanni Verga, Little Novels of Sicily. I went to Sicily when I was young. It was incredibly hot. It was beautiful, and I'd love to go back. There we are. Aspects of Alice. Very, very nice book indeed. This nice looking book, and not one that I was massively familiar with. (1974). Lovely. Another Somerset Maugham by his son. Once again, not one I knew existed. But all this rubbing on the floor, I only vacuumed in here, because I vacuum in here about once every 6 months. It's not it's not like the home or anything, but got it all looking clean, and then fill it up with rubbings again. Well, we are getting through it. We only got almost at the end of this pile, and then we got about another stack or two to do, and then we'll be there. And although, I mean, these were books that I did actually get in December, there wasn't loads of other stuff that's come my way. Penguin book dealer Tim Graham has had a catalogue come out, and I got a few bits off that, which I was pleased with, so that was good news, including, amazingly, a Forces book club I didn't have, so that was really, really good news. Yeah, really pleased to get this, Heart of Darkness. But yeah, so those books from Tim have not actually arrived yet, so they won't be in this video. They will be in the next. But yeah, first Penguin of Heart of Darkness. Really, really pleased to get this one. I've been looking for a while. super cool. That one's super cool. This one's a little bit more worn, but you know, with the cover creasing, but I'm going to keep it because it's a modern classic that I haven't got, I know for sure. I think I'm going to be doing a video revisiting the Penguin Modern Classics. It is a little bit grubby here. There we are. That's okay. And yet another one, Virginia Woolf, A Haunted House. So it's interesting, doesn't it? Lovely. All right, let's get them out of the way. Right, the penultimate stack, and we are almost there now. It has been a bit of an epic, but we don't mind epics. But one of the big reasons I'm rushing to get these done in a way is because I do want to figure out what I've actually got spare, because people have been asking me for stuff, and you know, I like to reply to wants lists. This is quite an interesting series, the book of short stories, and then it's from different countries around the world. This is the German one, that was the English one at last. I've got quite a collection of these, they're from all over the place. In fact, Penguin published quite a few. I don't know exactly how many. I'm going to try and do a bit of research, but I reckon I've probably got most of them, if not all of them. I wonder if it says in the front, or even the back. French and English and American. Don't think I got the American one, at least I haven't seen that one yet. A bit of Penguin science fiction, Gary Kilworth. Good to get that. Absolutely fine. Another Chester Himes, the big gold drink. Now, what is that in his mouth? Oh, it looks like a glove, or her mouth. Looks like a little glove. Cover design Paul May, photographed by Ollie James. Lovely, and another Chester Himes. Well, he's picking his teeth with a knife, isn't he? I mean, God. One false move and curtains. Lovely. Mervyn Peake, Mr. Pye. I don't know this one, but he's in nice condition, so I thought I would would keep this one. There we are. Cool, this is a huge one. Thomas Wolfe, another modern classic. He's enormous. Absolutely enormous. Actually stands up on its own, look at that. How well behaved of it. £60p, that was the second-hand price. But I suppose because of the size of it, you can sort of believe it, can't you? So that was £1.25 when it was published. And when was this published? Just out of interest, because a big book like this for £1.25, that's what it cost in 1971. That was a blimmin' fortune, wasn't it, in 1971? Another D.H. Lawrence. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure I'm actually going to keep hold of these, but we'll see. We'll see. It does sort of fit in with the earlier D.H. Lawrences, because Penguin published them all, of course. They were his British paperback publisher. And I'm sure you're all aware of the Lady Chatterley palaver in 1960. And the consequent obscenity trial. John Thomas and Lady Jane. See, when they're absolutely mint, like this one, it's a bit difficult to say no, isn't it, you know? It's hard to turn them down when they're absolute minters from that period. It's just beautiful. 52 years old, that book, and it's like it's never been read. It's like a little time machine. As are a lot of these books, as you can see. You know, they're just tip-top condition. And when you consider their age as well, it's incredible. This was a lovely, lovely pair. I've got two of these. So it's Montague Summers. They were a great little pair of these. Yes, I was not going to leave these behind. Justin Todd did the colour illustration. Yeah, look at that. Really good cover, that, isn't it? Wow. What a jacket. And this is the other volume. Volume 2. Justin Todd again. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. Gorgeous. Yeah, a very nice pair. Arnold Bennett, the card. I mean, every book is like immaculate. Just incredible condition on the whole, these. That had like £6 in. I'm sure it wasn't that. So I'm wondering if this was picked up overseas. Maybe it was the foreign price. Reggie Perrin. Yeah, what a great series. This was 3 seasons. The 3rd season is the weakest. The first 2 I just knock out, in my opinion. And I have got the 3 TV tie-in paperbacks, but the couple that were in the collection, because I think there was all 3, are particularly good. So I'm going to compare them against my own copies a little bit later. This was good, more Tales of the Unexpected, but the collection didn't have the first one, the original Tales of the Unexpected, so, you know, it is sadly missed, but, you know, he's all right. Colette, now once again, this is an author who I've got a little run of the Penguin editions from the 60s, and this sort of finishes them off, so I'm going to keep them all together, as it were. There's the original Fallen Rise original Perrin. You can just picture old Leonard Rossiter there. He's sat in CJ's office. Yes, CJ. I didn't get where I am today by cleaning books, you know, for a living. But I have ended up where I am today by cleaning books. This one is really nice. It looks a little bit trimmed, but I'm pretty sure I've got this one. In which case, I'll have a nice spare as well. Quite a big, thick book, and I think quite a scarce edition. But I'm just pleased to have a copy myself. Yeah, David Pelham jacket on it. Pelham did more in the 70s for Penguin, and Alan Aldridge did more in the 1960s. It's a beautiful copy. It's just got that cover crease there, but it looks unread to me. There's no spine marks on that. Another roll down. Okay, and another one, Switch Bitch. Quite a thin little volume that for Switch Bitch. Tangram. This is like a Chinese puzzle game. Comes with the pieces in there, and they're made of plastic. I actually had this when it came out as a kid. Was it 1976? The first printing of this. Good fun. You use the tokens to make various shapes. So you see the book, you see the shapes in silhouette form, and then at the back it gives you the solution of how they were put together with the individual pieces. Yeah, very clever. Clever little idea, that one. And it was a bestseller for Penguin, that one. And yet another roll down. Over to you. Lovely, and another Colette. I am very conscious of how long these videos go on, but I know people don't mind the long videos. So, you know, I try and be as efficient as I can in them and not waffle on too much. There we are. Now we're on to the last stack now. So we are almost there. The end is in sight. Little run of modern classics here. But I want all these books, because they go into my own collection, I want them all to be as clean as I can make them. I don't actually catalogue these post-ISBN books, but I have got, the ones that I have got, and the puffins as well, are photographed, so I've got them handy, so I can see, these are all mint, so I've got them handy so I can see what I've actually got if I was out and about. But I don't have them all listed because it's just too many, and as I say, because they're ISBN as well, but I probably won't go and chase the stuff that I'm missing down, except the Penguin science fiction. And like, there may be an odd Roald Dahl, there may be an odd, I don't know, another author of some sort, just to finish the run. This was nice. Never seen this before. Book on Tolkien. Yeah, I was pleased to find this one. This is a keeper, I can tell you. Yeah, that was pretty good. I suppose in the 70s, Tolkien was still riding high, wasn't he? The Silmarillion, when did that come out? 1977, wasn't it? Let's see when this one was actually published. It's 40p, 1974, so it's pre-Silmarillion. Another modern classic. Done well with them. I was not expecting to find so many modern classics. I'm really pleased. And it's prompted me basically to pull them all together and do a revised video, because on the back of the collection that I bought, I think it would make a fantastic video. I don't know how many modern classics I've got, but it's got to be quite a lot now. And thankfully, without really having to hunt them down, they have just sort of come my way. A little bit of wear on the edge, on the corner there. Yeah, this one's actually coming away ever so slightly. Yes, actually, look at that, it's coming away. So, let us do a little run and repair if we can. We shall stick some book binder's glue in there. That will sort it out. Can't be having these loose spines. It's just not crooked. There we are, that should keep it together in one piece, with a bit of luck. But yeah, a rare example of a 70s book where its binding has ever so slightly come away. It's not something you see often. Right, Henry James, let's put the lid on my glue here. We don't want it drying off, do we? I use this, if you've never seen it before, this bookbinder's glue. Pin it, or pin flare, glue it. I put a link in the description. It's really good. It's very versatile. It's better than Pritt Stick now, which is what I used to use. And it dries clear. So it looks like the book is, being bound properly. And I recommend it. Well, we are rapidly running out of room here on the table, and we've got a small pile left to do. So I'm just going to pause it there and make a bit more space. Okay, so the last little pile, and a Philip K. Dick, which is always nice to see. I think this is a double. I think I've already got this one, so I may have a rare Philip K. Dick for sale. Not that it'll last long, they do tend to sort of fly out. I'm assuming this was a first printing then. Yeah, published by Penguin in 1970. It would have been number 3105 in the Penguin main series. Nice run of Rudyard Kipling in this collection in Modern Classic. I have to say, loads of them. Another Virginia Woolf in Modern Classic. Another Graham Greene. Maybe Borrow Your Husband. I think Paul Hogarth got off quite lightly with this one. Very, very small little illustration on the front, almost a vignette, you could say. So this one's a reissue. This one first came out in the 60s in Penguin, I think. It was, yeah, this is a revised edition published in 69, first published in 65, and this is a movie tie-in with Ringo Starr and Peter Sellers. I don't think I've ever seen it. The Magic Christian. Unusual, certainly unusual. Might try and track this down, see if I can find it online anywhere. To stream, possibly. Unusual, isn't it? Unusual. Yeah, whether it's like a comedy or something like that, probably is. This is good. This is the book that came out, Police Blotter, after Bullet, Christopher Pike. I have actually got a copy of that one, so that's just going to be a little comparison job. See which one is best. But it's science fiction here. Search the Sky. Frederick Poole. Nice to have a little bit of SF to round the video out here. I said, if you've seen something that you want, this stuff here is what I'm keeping. I'm going to be keeping a lot of this. Some of it will be doubles, but your best bet if you're after stuff is just drop me an email, and I've got all my sort of spare stuff as sorted as it's ever going to be, and all I can do is just check what I've got and advise. This is good. This is I think this was the very last Steve McQueen film before he died. I think certainly the last one that he starred in as the star, called The Reavers. I don't think he was very well at the time. Obviously been a heavy smoker his entire life, and it's sort of caught up with him, with his lifestyle. But I collect any sort of movie tie-in with McQueen in, basically. Yeah, that was a very cool little find. This is nice. This is a George Orwell book I did not know about. A study of George Orwell, George Woodcock. Did not know anything about this. It's the design of it is very, very similar to the George Orwell diaries, the 4 volumes of that. Is it the diaries or no, it's like the collected George Orwell, isn't it? It's like all the short stories and essays and letters pulled together, which Penguin published in 4 volumes. It's the same style as that. So, yeah, an unusual one to try and keep your eyes peeled for, because I think that's pretty scarce, that. Not one I've ever seen before, and I always keep my eyes peeled for Orwell. So, yeah, that's really nice. The last Penguin Modern Classic of the day, On the Marble Cliffs. Looks a pretty nice copy. Lovely. Another bit of science fiction. Conjure Wife. This one is rippled. It's like it's water. It's got wet. It's got water rippling. So it's on its last legs. I think it's one I might already have, so I'll only keep that one if it's one I'm completely missing. This one I definitely have, because I do collect Hemingway, so this will be a double, but I'm going to compare it against the copy that I have first of all. Hemingway always sells very well. I think he's a great writer, or was a great writer. A bit controversial these days. My favourite of his is one called Fiesta, which was quite an early one, and that's his look at bullfighting, which is just amazing. It's like he's fascinated but also disgusted at what he's seeing in the bullfighting ring. It's really really quite something. I recommend that one. Now this is the companion one to the one we saw earlier, by A.L. Rouse, the early Churchill. So this is sort of going to go together. Well, I'm going to just pop these in my my Churchill collection. I don't have many paperbacks, but I've got a stack of quite nice ones, including this, and some really nice period 40s ones, which are just really good. When he was sort of very, very popular as the war leader, and they're excellent. I must pull those out. Did I spot something there? Yeah, look, this has had a bit of annotation. A couple of little bits have been highlighted there, almost like it was a review copy, yet the book is absolutely minters. That's interesting. Still okay. I'm still going to keep it just for that little bit of pen. Look at the rest of it. It's beautiful. Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, shame there wasn't a few more of these. I think, yeah, Penguin certainly published her in the 50s and 60s, and this is obviously a 70s one. I suppose by now she'd already peaked and was only published in the odd book now and again. And then it was a good 10 years she'd sort of disappeared into obscurity until Virago came along and they championed her again. You know, the green Virago books, like the women's press in effect, and they re-championed Elizabeth Taylor. Nowadays she's published by Random House, so she has ended up back in the Penguin Random House group. But this, I guess, was the first time this was published. Yeah, 1970 in Penguin. I'd love to have collected her in hardback, but they're just so expensive. You know, a few £100 each. So it's a little bit more than I want to pay. I'll stick to the paperback first. And the last one, Star Child, Frederick Paul Jack Williamson. Actually quite a nice condition SF one. And one I don't think I've got. So I'm really pleased to get that. And look at that, I didn't need anything doing to it. So there we go. So that is this month's pickups, which is, well, fantastic really. But as I said, not a lot that I bought from other sources. It was just what I've saved from that big collection, and certainly I did very well indeed. If you've enjoyed today's video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage book cleaning action. And don't forget, I have got my other channel devoted entirely to this, so I always link to that one in the description down below. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye.